Hey everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back to Yarn Purpose. I have another designer chat for you today. Today I want to talk about sample knitting versus test knitting. Hey everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back. I want to talk to you today about sample knitting versus test knitting, sort of what those things mean to me and sort of how I use them in my business. So a sample knitter is someone that typically will knit the sample for you. So maybe you've knit your own as the designer, or sometimes maybe not, but they're knitting the sample for you. At least in the case of when I work with sample knitters, I am then keeping the sample at the end. So they're knitting it and sending it to me, and then I am keeping the sample. With sample knitters, I always pay them because they're not keeping the finished item. I'm expecting things to be done a certain way. And so they are paid for that work. There is sort of a range of what someone as a sample knitter might get paid, and it does vary from designer to designer. I've heard anywhere as low as like 12 cents per yard knit up to 30 cents per yard knit. So it just depends designer to designer what you pay. I pay 25 cents per yard knit. That's what I decided on, so that's what I pay. And so when I'm working with the sample knitter, typically I will send her a list of sort of my expectations. I mean, I guess they're rules, but sort of just my expectations as far as, you know, you have to get the gauge I say in the pattern, you have to finish the item, just things like that. I personally will weave in the ends and block the item at the end. I don't know how other designers work, but that's what I do. So typically my sample knitters, if they want to weave in the ends, fine, but I always want to block. It's almost always shawls. I want to block the shawls myself. So that's how I work with sample knitters. Test knitters is a little bit different. Test knitters typically are not paid. I know some designers do pay their test knitters, but I would say the vast majority do not pay their test knitters. And basically a test knitter is using their own yarn, and they are getting the pattern before it's released on Ravelry or in a book or whatever, and they are basically knitting the pattern to make sure everything works, make sure that the directions are clear. Like I said, they typically are not paid. They might get like they'll probably get the pattern, the finished pattern from the designer. Some designers will offer other perks like discount codes or other free patterns or something. I also look at test knitters in some instances now being more like preview knitters. So some designers do like to have their pattern have several projects on Ravelry when the pattern comes out, which is really great because I do know that a lot of knitters don't want to buy a pattern that no one has made. So some designers do get a lot of test knitters, or like I said, I kind of almost think of them as preview knitters, to knit the pattern before it actually comes out, so that when the pattern does come out, then there are several projects already on Ravelry. So I only tend to use test knitters when I am designing something that is new to me. So if I've picked some kind of shawl shape that's like completely different from something I have ever done. If I'm doing some other type of technique that I haven't put in one of my patterns before, that is when I will use test knitters. I think that test knitters cannot replace a tech editor. I know that there are some designers that only use a test knitter instead of using a tech editor. For me, a test knitter is never going to replace a tech editor. I'm going to get into that more in a future video. But yeah, so like I said, there's just sort of like a small little difference between sample knitters versus test knitters. Sample knitters, you're typically, the designer is going to keep the sample, and it is typically paid work. Test knitters may or may not be paid. They're just more checking to make sure that everything works right. But, you know, and they may, if they catch errors, they're obviously letting the designer know. But, yeah, they're not giving the designer the sample or anything like that. So that's it for today. And like I said, next time I want to talk a little bit more about test knitting versus tech editing, but I feel like that might be a little bit of a longer video. So I will save that one for next month. So if you liked this video, go ahead and give it that thumbs up. And if you like these designer chats, please leave a comment down below if there's any topics that you would like me to cover. I'm happy to explore the topics that you're interested in these designer chats. And if you'd like to see more videos from me, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like, you can turn on notifications to be notified whenever I upload a new video, which I upload videos most Fridays. So that's it for me for today. I hope that everybody has a great week, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.